double here. There are nice little art galleries and boutiques. Some good places to shop up there. We have two restaurants coming up on the left. Both of those used to be German homes back in the 1850s. They were the homes of the Dashiell and Bambach families. As we come around the bend, we'll be getting into the Arneson Theater. It's an open-air theater. Seats 800 people. It's named after Edwin P. Arneson. He was the chief engineer of the Works Project Administration that completed the Riverwalk back in 1941. So we head through the theater. Take a look to the right of the stage. You might recognize it from Miss Congeniality. We had Sandra Bullock up there dancing around in a bathing suit. Also 5 bronze bells right above the stage. Each one of them represents one of the 5 Spanish missions in San Antonio. Now we're going to be heading under Rosita's Bridge. Rosita Fernandez played on that stage for 26 years in the show Fiesta Noche del Rio, which is still in production today. They should have finished season number 64 a couple August ago, but the whole season was postponed. They finally came back again last June. They played through the summer. They'll be back again this May for season number 65. Over here to the right is the Briscoe Western Art Museum that just recently opened. Got a lot of different artwork showing the history of the West, as well as an interactive diorama, the Battle of the Alamo. Pancho Villa's saddle, Santa Anna's sword are on display in there. Now we're going to be heading under the Presa Street Bridge coming up. This is a solid iron bridge, built in the 1890s. It's called an iron ornamental bridge. There are 10 of these left in the United States. 5 are on the San Antonio River. Now this one sits pretty low, so we're going to try and steer right through the middle of it. You might think you're going to hit your head on it, but trust me, if you don't stand up, you'll be fine. I, on the other hand, may not fare as well. Go right through the middle here. And just up ahead on the right after this bridge, you'll see a small island with an iron sculpture on it. The sculpture is known as Father Massenet's table. That was a gift from artist Rolando Briceño in 1991. It's put there to commemorate the first Catholic Mass that took place in San Antonio on June 13th, 1691. Take a close look at the island. You see it's completely comprised of that cypress tree's root system. It's also a heart-shaped island. It's known as Marriage Island. We have over 300 weddings that take place there every year. We had 4 yesterday. On the other side of the bridge, we have Divorce Island. Might be a busier island. Now, this part of the river is actually known as Old Mill Crossing. Back in the 1800s, Nat Lewis had his mill on the right bank. He would grind grain for the settlers. And this was also a very shallow part of the river. Settlers could cross, they'd water their horses. Teddy Roosevelt and the Rough Riders used to train right in this area. On the right we have the Westin Hotel. That was built in 1999. It's a really new addition to the Riverwalk. Surrounded by all these older buildings, just past the Westin there on the right, there's a darker red brick building. That used to be the San Antonio Drug Company from 1919 to 1963. Now it's the Homewood Suites. Got remodeled in 95. And then here on the left, this is the Tower Life building. This one lights up the San Antonio skyline. Built in 1927 and 1928, it used to be called the Smith-Young Tower. If you look all the way up to the top of the tower, you'll see these concrete structures jutting out of each of the 8 corners. Those are known as gargoyles. They serve as a rain drainage system, so when it rains, the water comes out of the gargoyles' mouths into the gutters below. And if you look just above the trees over here to the left, you'll see these angry little scary faces kind of snarling down at you. Those are known as grotesques. Now the whole building is an example of neo-Gothic architecture. The original owners, Smith and Young, were fairly superstitious, and they put all these things in place to ward off evil spirits and bad business. Unfortunately, 1 year after the building opened, the stock market crashed in 1929. It cost them over $3 million to build it. They had to sell it for less than $30,000. Wow. So it doesn't say much for gargoyles. I'll show you a neat little effect when we come out from under this bridge. Take a look back at the Tower Life building, and you'll notice that it's transformed into a ship. Looks like it's coming onto the river right behind us. You've got to use your imagination just a little bit. Just imagine a little Leonardo DiCaprio hanging out the front of it. If that helps. Now here on the right is the International Center. That was the San Antonio Main Public Library until 1998. Now it has the offices of the San Antonio Conventions Bureau. Also right above one of our marinas, where we dock some of our boats at night. And directly in front of us is Old Big Red. That's a Bexar County courthouse built in 1896. It's made of red sandstone and granite. One of the oldest and largest continuously operating courthouses in Texas. Now, just in case there's any cross traffic here, I have to honk the horn. Don't be alarmed. We're looking for them. Now, this part of the river that we've been on, this is all the natural flow of the river. It's a natural horseshoe bend. The river flows to the left. We're going to head to the right into a man-made part. We're entering into the flood channel. We just left through floodgate 4. Now, when it rains really hard, floodgate 4 will rise up out of the water like a drawbridge. Keeps the water at the exact same level in the horseshoe bend at all times, so there's never any flooding back there. The hotels, the mall, the restaurants, they're all completely safe from flooding. Now, it doesn't rain very often in San Antonio, but when it does, it can rain really hard, really fast. Flooding used to be a huge problem for downtown. In 1921, we had a flood that caused a lot of deaths, did a lot of property damage. So the Army Corps of Engineers came in here, built this flood channel for us, and put an end to all our downtown flooding problems. So there were a lot of prominent businessmen that wanted to fill in and pave over that other part of the river we were just on, make room for more buildings and streets. But lucky for us, 2 women had the foresight to put a stop to that. It was Emily Edwards and Raina Maverick Green. They formed the San Antonio Conservation Society in 1924. Then a few years after that, there was a graduate from the University of Texas by the name of Robert H. Hugman. And he designed the entire Riverwalk at the age of 27. Presented his plans to the city. The city approved it in 1929. Still wasn't completed until 41 after the Works Project Administration took over. But Hugman is still known as the father of the Riverwalk. He designed every walkway and staircase, every planter, lamppost, and bench. Everything you see in the horseshoe bend is pretty much Hugman's design. Now, he didn't design this walkway over here on the right. That's fairly new. It's been there about 15 years. That was a gift from the Drury Plaza Hotel. It's an 850-foot walkway that connects floodgates 3 and 4. Now you can walk all the way around the horseshoe. And over here to the left, through the trees, is Main Plaza, established in 1731 by Spanish settlers from the Canary Islands. That used to be the heart of the city. There's also San Fernando Cathedral back there, built in 1739. Still houses some of the remains of the heroes from the Battle of the Alamo. Now, people always think that the San Antonio River is just a small river where it's man-made, doesn't flow very fast, but it actually starts just about 6 miles north of here on the campus of Incarnate Word University. And it comes up through springs from an underground lake known as the Edwards Aquifer, flows through the zoo, through downtown, goes about 230 miles southeast of here where it meets up with the Guadalupe River, flows out to the Gulf of Mexico. Now you see that big tree right in front of us? It's the oldest and largest cypress tree in San Antonio. It's over 350 years old, over 9 stories tall. Also known as the sniper tree. Back in 1835, there was a Texas patriot by the name of Ben Milam. He was staying at the Vermondy Palace, which was it takes about 15 minutes for that to come down completely. It does weigh 3 tons, and it comes straight down. Coming up on the right is the Esquire Tavern. That was the first bar on the Riverwalk. They opened the doors in 1933, and they opened the day after Prohibition ended. They pretty much just took down the barbershop pole, and it was business as usual. They say it was a speakeasy before that. Also has the longest wooden bar in Texas at 118 long. And here on the left is the Drury Inn and Suites. That used to be the City Public Service Building back in 1921. Just to give you an idea of the severity of that flood, if you look at the top of the first floor windows, right where the 3 shields are, that's how high the flood of 1921 reached. Wow. It was a major flood. It's a great example of how we like to take an old building, give it a second chance at a new life here in San Antonio. We try not to tear anything down if we can help it. Over here to the right, you'll see tourists and their natural habitat. So, one of our ticket locations here. This one's at the Aztec Theater. The Aztec coming up on the right was opened in 1926. Used to show silent movies. They just finished about a 3-year-long run with a country and western show known as San Antonio Rose Live. They have another live music venue on now. One of the last remaining Mayan theme theaters left in the United States. We're about to go under Salinas Bridge, named after late singer Selena Quintanilla. She was photographed on this bridge, as well as Jennifer Lopez, played her in the movie Selena. Also partially filmed right up here. The beige building over here on the right, that's the Mocara Hotel now, but it used to be the home of the L. Frank Saddlery. From 1901 to 1923, they outfitted Teddy Roosevelt, the Rough Riders, as well as Mexican revolutionary Francisco Pancho Villa. Right before World War I, they provided boots, saddles, and harnesses for the United States Army. And on the left is La Mansión del Río, or Mansion on the River. It used to be the site of the St. Mary's School for Boys back in 1853. Then it was the St. Mary's Academy, then the St. Mary's Law School. In 1966, two former students from the law school purchased the building. They remodeled it, opened it up for Hemisphere, 1968. Still has some of the original artifacts from the boys' school in the lobby and in the lounge. Now we're going to head under the Navarro Street Bridge. When we come out from under this bridge, you're going to show you a really cool optical illusion. So we come out from under the bridge, everyone take a look up and to the left, and where once stood a 26-story, three-dimensional building will have been replaced by a 26-story, two-dimensional wall. Looks like it might fall right down on top of you. Take a look up. That's the Nix Hospital right there. It's built in 1930. One of the country's first full-service, fully air-conditioned hospitals. Had everything from ambulance service to daycare to indoor parking. Carol Burnett was born in that hospital, as well as Oliver North and Michael Nesmith from the Monkees. This part of the river here is known as South Bank. This is where you're going to find a lot of the nightlife on the Riverwalk. I think it might be kind of quiet tonight, but on a typical Friday or Saturday night, people will be lined up on the sides of the river screaming at every boat that goes by, throwing things on the boat drivers. I don't recommend that. Now right in front of us in the Hyatt Regency, that was built in 1981. The Alamo is just on the other side of the Hyatt. If you're interested in going, this is a great way to get there. As we come around the bend, take a look to the left, you'll see these glass doors with the headers that read Paseo del Alamo. That's the passageway to the Alamo. It's the quickest way to get there from the river level. And it's a beautiful walk. The river goes through the building. You go through those doors, you walk through a series of waterfalls and gardens. When you get to the top, it puts you right across the street from the front of the Alamo. Now, an interesting side note, when the Hyatt Regency was being designed, it had to meet strict height requirements. It wasn't allowed to cast a shadow on the Alamo at sunset. This building coming up on the right, this is the Casino Club building. It was opened in 1927. It used to be a German social club. That later became apartments. There was a famous author that lived there by the name of Alex Haley. He wrote a lot of books that became movies. Probably most notably was Roots. He lived there. Also actor Tommy Lee Jones lived in that building for just a little while. Now we're getting into my favorite part of the Riverwalk. This is River Square. This is where you're going to find the majority of the restaurants. All the tantalizing aromas. Now normally we offer a dining boat service. We can go to any one of these restaurants and set that up. Get a breakfast boat, lunch, dinner if you just want cocktails. Get a cocktail cruise. That was on hold for a while. It's finally back. Nice way to enjoy the Riverwalk. Now the Riverwalk first opened in 1941. It didn't look a whole lot like this. It was more of a city park. Nice to take the family out, have a picnic. But the father and designer of the Riverwalk, Robert H.H. Hugman, he had a different vision for his design. So he put his office here in the building on the right. That's the Clifford Building. Hugman's name is written above the first floor. He put his office there to prove to everyone that a business could thrive on the Riverwalk, that he wasn't afraid of flooding. And people thought he was crazy at first. It took a few years before other businesses started to follow suit. This restaurant over here on the right is Casa Rio, first restaurant on the Riverwalk. They opened the doors in 1946. They were the first ones to do the riverboat tours, as well as the dining boats. They also just celebrated their 75th anniversary last October. Now we're going to be leaving the natural flow of the river one more time. We're going to head on to another man-made part. This is the bottom of the horseshoe. Give you an idea where we are. And this part of the river that we're entering was built in the 1960s for Hemisphere. Now, if you're not familiar with what Hemisphere was, it was kind of like the World's Fair. It came to San Antonio in 1968. We had 7 million people coming to town for Hemisphere over the course of 6 months. So they built this park so people could take river taxis from the natural flow of the river to get to the convention center. And people loved the Riverwalk so much during Hemisphere. They kept coming back, bringing their families. Tourism really started to grow as a result of the Hemisphere of 1968. If you ever want to move to San Antonio, if you live here already, want to open up a business, we have the Chamber of Commerce on the left. They have all kinds of information for you. Message brought to you by the Chamber of Commerce. Now, since this is a man-made part of the river, there's no natural flow to it. This part of the river is lined with concrete. The rest of the river has a mud bottom. And there are still a whole lot of little critters that live here. Man-made. We have tilapia, perch, catfish, sunfish, crawfish. A whole lot of snakes in here. We've got turtles too. Turtles are nice. So they built this waterfall over here to the right. This waterfall helps keep the water flowing, keeps it filtered and aerated. Keeps all those little critters alive and well. And this is the right here over the wall through the clearing, you'll see a tower. It looks like the Jetsons' house up there. That's the Tower of the Americas. That was the centerpiece of the Hemisphere of 1968. It's also the second tallest freestanding tower in the United States. And it's second only to the Stratosphere in Las Vegas. We're actually 16 feet taller than the Space Needle in Seattle. Stratosphere is 1,000 feet tall. Ours is 750 feet. Stratosphere has some sort of ride or roller coaster or bungee jump, something on there. So we have a restaurant on ours that spins once every hour. Not quite as fast as a roller coaster. You get a pretty good view of the tower coming up on the right. That section over there to the right takes you to the convention center, but that stop sign over there to the right says we can't go back there. Not exactly sure why. It must have been the stop sign. Everyone had a chance to get to the shops at River Center? If you haven't, I don't want to ruin the surprise for you, but it's a mall. It's a lot like every other mall you've ever been to, but it sits on the banks of a river, because that makes it kind of special. We're headed to the River Center Mall Lagoon right now. You can check it out for yourself. Our mall has 125 stores. There's a food court, an IMAX theater, a comedy club. There's also a purple store, if you like purple stuff. It's all they sell. Apparently there is a demand for purple things that I am unaware of. Always been very popular. Also just opened up a Dave & Buster's at the mall. We've got this Margaritaville coming up on the left. We've opened a Legoland and an aquarium called Sea Life. We've got some new things going on at the mall. So we moved about 4 months ago. There's also a new section of the river that we won't cover on the tour. It's an extra 1.2 miles that's been added in the last 13 years. It's called the Museum Reach. It opened May 30th of 2009. Now you can still get there by boat, just not one of these boats. You have to take one of our Rio shuttles. If you're not familiar with the Rio shuttles, they look exactly like these boats, except it says shuttle on it. If you're looking to get from place to place on the river and not have somebody tell you about everything, that's the way to do it.
Go! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30.
Bro, thank you. He counted really fast. I love you, man. Hey, bro, not only am I going to give you money, $20, because my stimulus check came in. I'm giving this kid $20 because I believe anybody who is brave enough to come up here with a crowd full of people that are leaving. Anybody who is brave enough to come up here with a crowd full of people deserves $20. I'm not talking about him. Hey, bro, money comes and goes. This message will never leave you, okay? It's called a life lesson. Put this money in your pocket, $20. Do you have a girlfriend? Good, because they take half. Peace.